All right. Welcome back. It has been quite a bit of time. How are you? How are things going? Anything new in the economy, in the stock market? Yes, the answer is indeed yes. And so I'm back today to give you an update on my portfolio, some of the things I've been investing in, and to dive right into some of the things that have worked really well over the last few months. So let's just jump over to the computer together and we'll take a look. All right, so let's start with the biggest news that I'm sure you have heard, which is that Trump has won his re-election for president, the 47th president, what many would consider a pretty overwhelming victory, not only in the Electoral College, but the popular vote, the House, the Senate. There's a lot of momentum shifting towards just that side of the political and economic, landscape. So we'll see how that turns out. Love him or hate him, that is where we are. And I'll say that there's some articles like this. Hey, Wall Street's optimistic about Trump 2.0. He always touts, hey, I had the best, economy ever. We'll see. There's definitely a lot of challenges ahead. So to be determined there. Now, when it comes to startups, that is my world, right? So I work in technology. I've built and sold startups in that process now. There's a lot of optimism here because, over the last few years with inflation just rising, rates rising, it's actually made the cost of capital much higher. So for startups where they're funded by venture capitalists, private equity, there's the cost to borrow this money and there's a cost to be able to fuel their growth, which has been really, really hard to do. That's why you've seen these massive layoffs, lots of cuts, lots of companies going under. And the hope is that tide will turn here the next 4 years, along with deregulation. So just kind of setting the stage here as we talk about my portfolio, where things are headed. Let's go through some of the things that have worked really well for me, probably for you too. Let's start with Bitcoin, right? So we're up 34% in the last month. Been a rocket ship. And the theme that you're going to notice is take a look at November 5th. That is the absolute turning point for this chart of when things took off. That is the date of the election. So there's a lot of certainty then of, hey, okay, if Trump wins, this is how we will respond with our investments, with what the future looks like. And I think that could have went either way. A lot of times the election is based on uncertainty. And companies, are they going to expand their international manufacturing? Well, maybe if Kamala Harris would have won, or are they going to bring things onshore to the U.S. if Trump comes in with tariffs? Well, that seems to be the direction. And now all those plans have been unlocked because we know which direction to go. Trump is allegedly more pro-crypto, and this seems to be what the market shows. So we're up big. If we take a look, go to the last year, it's kind of been up generally, but I've been buying Bitcoin for quite a while. I think my average price is about 40K. So definitely doubled my money. Happy about that. And with every one of these cycles, it's like, why didn't I buy more? Why didn't I buy full Bitcoins when they were 3K, So to be determined, but really happy where things are here. Let's move over to another crypto-related investment, which is Coinbase. So you've heard me talk about this on my channel. Going back to the month chart here, we're up 50%, 51% in the last month. Again, really starting to turn around that November 5th date. And what I want to say, if I go back to this full chart, let's go back to the max here. Yeah. Post IPO, I started to buy in kind of around this area. And if you remember that famous Jim Cramer tweet, we love Coinbase to $400. Well, we've never gotten there. We've only collapsed. And that's what happened down here into the 30s back in 2023. And I'm just proud of myself to share that I did not sell any of my Coinbase stock at these terrible, huge drawdowns. I think I was down at least 85%. And we're talking hundreds and hundreds of shares. This was no insignificant holding of mine. It was big and didn't sell. So happy to see that things came back. Now up here recently, earlier in the year, once we got back and I was above my $200, average, I did start to sell a little bit. It just from psychologically, it was like, okay, I survived the storm. Let me get some of that money out at a profit, right? And then since then, things have went even higher. So now I'm doing really well. My remaining shares are up and I'm excited to kind of see where this goes. So I've actually done a full video about Coinbase, why I believe in it. You can check it out on my channel. Another big one is Tesla. Obviously, Elon Musk involved in some of the election and politics stuff. Love or hate that guy as well. Up to you. But what I can tell you, hard to bet against this man. And so here's a 57% upswing in the last month. Really, that you can see that election kind of being a bump for this as well. Despite Trump announcing he's going to kill off this EV subsidy, which is kind of interesting. I do think overall that benefits Tesla generally because of their lead in the space. But with Tesla, something I do want to share that I did. Let's go back here. I had bought a lot of shares, and we were cruising along, and somewhere around here, I sold around the 250 mark. So let's say it's in here. Then I bought back in somewhere around the 212 mark. So I had this pretty big upswing, locked in a lot of my gains, held some cash. As things sold off, then I bought back in my whole position at 212. Now we're at 344. So I locked in those previous profits, bought more, and I've ridden that all the way up till now, getting close back to all-time highs here in the 400s. So that was awesome, and we don't encourage that necessarily. It's very hard to pick and choose, but these are some of my wins. That's why I'm sharing this portfolio update. I could share you some of my losses, things like Zillow, some of the ARK funds that I've put money in, usually things I timed wrong or maybe didn't bring my average down as those stocks have sold off. So you win some and lose some. All right, let's go to net worth. So this is maybe what you want to see. This is actually my net worth as of today and where my asset allocation falls. You're going to see that stocks are only 27%. And I think, most, financial advisors, people would say this is definitely not what I should be doing at my age. But I want to speak to this. So the cash position has grown significantly in the last 30 days because I sold off a lot of my winners in some of my brokerage accounts, some other places to free up cash. And I did that for two reasons. One is my wife and I are closing on a house. We're pursuing adoption of our third child, very exciting. And so wanted to have some cash available for that. But then you have someone like Warren Buffett, he's got hundreds of billions of dollars in cash. He has been selling off tech stocks like Apple. And, he's built this reputation for, be fearful when others are greedy. And the market with most everything at all-time highs, I do think there's something to be learned from his thoughts here. And so I'm kind of following both at the current moment. So also I'll say Bitcoin is 7%. That's primarily because of the big upswing. Maybe I'd like to get that to 5%, not from selling any Bitcoin, but just getting some more things invested. Okay, last up, let's talk about where I'm putting money now. So there's a brand new stock that I've been buying, which is going to be Disney. Over the last 5 years, you can see this pretty big sell-off since 2021, that big bubble. And things have been just getting rocked over here. But over the last month, it's actually up 15%. And I bought in around the 80s, probably a little bit lower than this. And so I'm up overall on Disney. So my quick pitch for Disney, I'll do a longer video for this, is I'm a dad. And although I lived in Orlando for about a decade, I never went to Disney World. Didn't get it, not a Disney adult, none of that stuff. And prior to that, I had only been to Disney when I was a kid a couple times on vacation. So now that I'm a dad, though, we have passes. We take the kids like once a month, stay on property, really enjoy all the parks. And I have essentially, I've come to see the light of why it's so magical. It's some of the most famous intellectual property in the world, some of the best compositions and music, all those properties owned by Disney. I mean, you can't go to a playground and not see kids head to toe in one of the characters, one of the thousands of amazing characters that Disney has. And so that's exciting. They also have committed to $60 billion in park expansion. And as we move to AI and digitalization of our whole lives, real in-person experiences, there's going to be a higher value on that, in my opinion. And so I get excited to hear, hey, $60 billion, we're putting money down to say this is the direction and the vision we have. And I think that's going to pay off big for them. I also think some of the headwinds like the political battles in Florida here where I live, that's subsided and been resolved. Some of the battles with the board and kind of that takeover, there's some questions on leadership of Bob Iger, finally leaving for real, to be determined there. And then lastly, even some of the social and political, issues. I think there's kind of been this focus of, hey, we can care about these other things. We can speak up and empower people, but we got to get back to what we focus on the most. The most important mission is creating these magical experiences and movies and films for people, for families. And so I'm excited to see where that goes. Definitely a stock I'm putting some money in now. All right, that's a quick update from me. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know what investments have really done well. What are some things you wish you didn't do? Let me know. I reply to everybody, and we'll put out more content like this for you. If you like this sort of thing, go ahead and hit subscribe. Hit that thumbs up. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.